All right, welcome back. This is the Coach Mark Gottfried Show, and today I'm really pumped up because I've got this phenomenal guest. I want everybody to learn his story. What an amazing person, and he's had an amazing life. And I want to introduce you to one of the greatest running backs ever to play the game, Marcus Dupree. Marcus, how you doing?
Thank you, Mark. I'm good. What about you?
I'm fantastic. All right, so the first thing I got to ask you is, so I'm playing basketball for the University of Alabama. You and I think, are about the same age. And Alabama football was good then. Not great, but good. But every time I turned on and watched Oklahoma football, I said, why isn't that dude playing for Alabama? So that's my first question. Did Alabama recruit you or not? What happened?
Oh, man, Alabama was recruiting me in the 9th grade. I used to go over and watch practice with Bear Bryant. I'm probably the few people that went up in the tower with Bear Bryant and watch Alabama practice. But what happened, my recruiting trip, I went over, and Bear Bryant told me don't come because he didn't feel like he was going to be there. And, he did. He wasn't. He died,
That's right.
A year or so later?
Right after. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so I went to OU.
How about that? Isn't that great? So tell me this one too, Marcus, because I knew one other person that went to high school in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Tell us what it was like growing up in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Not a lot of people even know it exists.
Well, we get a lot of Alabama people over here now for the casino. We get all Alabama's money. But growing up it was a small town. All my friends, we all played all sports. We were in the Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Little League Baseball, guys I grew up with. And it was a fun time. It was an exciting time. Philadelphia is known for Mississippi burning. But at that time, it was a great time for high school football, and everybody was supporting it. Everybody was coming in town. I meet people all over the country be like, Marcus, we came there. We drove from Texas. We drove from Kentucky. We drove from Indiana. We drove from Ohio to come see you play on Friday night. I'm like, oh, my God. From all over these places. And he's like, yeah, we had to come see what this guy was like. So Friday nights were a lot of fun. It was kind of like Friday Night Lights. It was a lot of fun.
I bet it was. How about this one, Marcus? So, I coached college basketball for over 30 years and recruited a lot of players. And a lot of times I used to tell people when you're one of the best players, and I've actually signed the number one player in the country before in basketball, but like you, for at the level that you were, probably the best prospect in the nation, you're in a small community. How was that as far as all that attention was coming on into that community for you? Because I tell people all the time, a lot of times people don't realize how hard all that is to navigate sometimes. It's not easy when you're, at the level where you were. So how was that for you in a community that's a small community and you're getting all that attention from around the country?
So I was just blessed to have the coach that I had, and then the principal that I had, and also the superintendent that I had played Major League Baseball. My mom was a school teacher, and she was strict for her school, work and stuff. And Coach Wood had a bunch of recruits because he had a bunch of recruits out of Kosciuszko, Mississippi, and so he understood the process, and we had a schedule on how everything was going to go before the season even started. So any coaches that called in, they made sure they faxed that schedule and knew when to come, what to do, and all that. So that pretty much helped everything. Like I said, Coach Wood had a bunch of recruits from Kosciuszko High School, so that kind of helped a whole lot.
When you were young, Marcus, was there? I know you played a lot of sports and. You probably played baseball, basketball, you did all that, but was there an age for you, like where you started to say, you know what, if I kind of concentrate on football, I got a chance to be good. Was there a certain point for you where you shifted into that and kind of solely dedicated yourself to that sport?
I never did. I ran track. I ran track. I was in the band. I was played basketball. I was dunking the basketball in the 7th grade. Also, I batted .499 in high school. And so just being in a small town, we look forward to each season playing against other high schools because we're going to see those same guys in the next sport. So, I ran track. I was telling your friend, I don't know if you know Wayne Rowe down in Mobile. He's friends with your dad. So he was asking me the other day, he's like, Marcus, you was out running everybody. Your track team, I heard, was pretty good. He said, where did y'all practice at? I said, on the football field. He's like, what? He's like, you guys didn't have a track? I said, no, man, we ran the 100. I said, I really didn't even know how to come out of the blocks. I said, we were all just natural athletes, and we just loved to compete. And the guys I grew up with, we always competed. We pushed each other. We were lifting weights before we got weights. My next door neighbor's dad bought us some real weights from Sears Roebuck, the little plastic weights. So that's what first was over there lifting weights with cinder blocks. So that's how we were. He's like, so my mom came out the door one day. She said, "Y'all gonna kill yourself." So my mom and my neighbor's dad put their money together, and we had. We finally got some Sears Roebuck weights, and that's how we started working out as 5th graders.
How did you tell me about you as a baseball player? Because even though I coach basketball, I'm a baseball fan. So you could hit the ball. I bet you could smash it. So tell me about baseball for you when you were young.
Starting from Little League on up to high school, people used to come and just the park, especially in Little League, the park would start getting filled up around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, just to come watch us play and watch me hit the ball. And then it moved up to high school. I mean, if I ain't hit it out of the park, I struck out. That's either or. So I played all positions. I pitched. I caught. I mean, I was just an athlete. I just loved the guys I grew up with and played with in Little League. And we just loved to compete. And it didn't matter what position we played, we would try to be the best at it. So anybody who came to play Philadelphia in Little League, junior high, we just loved to compete and we hated to lose. And so we put forth the best effort possible.
When you were young, Marcus, and you were playing all those sports and doing a great job, were there lessons that you were learning then that then as you got a little bit older and you went off to college, were some of those lessons about maybe how hard you have to work or the discipline? Like, what are some of those for you if you go back to when you were young that maybe helped you carry you through as you became a little bit older?
Well, I just know that how hard we worked in Philadelphia, and I just carried that on from the time me and my friends said we made a pact to each other. If one person makes it, everybody makes it. But they end up going to Ole Miss, and I end up going to Oklahoma. But we always pushed each other. It was just a matter of determination, the mindset of, we're not going to stop, we're not going to quit. And that carried me through Oklahoma. And I remember the first scrimmage at Oklahoma, I was like, man, I ran behind a little line in Oklahoma. I mean, in high school, I'm going to kill it when I get behind these big old boys in front of me today. So I remember Jackie Shipp, who was a first-round pick. He just told me this like 3 or 4 years ago. He said, Marcus, remember that day I was talking that junk to you in the lunchroom? I said, yeah. And he was like just smiling at me. And so he's like, it was just me and you in the hole that day at that scrimmage. And he said, I had you beamed in. He said, next few seconds, he's like, I was looking at the bottom of your feet go down 80 yards for a touchdown. And he just said, man, I had the most respect for you after that. So I was like, well, we just play hard. That's how I was brought up, to play hard. I mean, it wasn't a time I can look back. It wasn't if it was raining and we had a baseball game, we still were up under my mom's tree or the neighbor's tree and steady throwing the baseball. It was basketball. I mean, it didn't matter what was going on. We still was going to play no matter what. And so that's how I took it. And look, I always look back at to say that's where I got my start. For my friends we were pushing each other. So it made it easy, especially in Oklahoma. It was so easy. I was scared. I was like, this is easier than I thought. I mean, we had the first scrimmage. I had 150 yards on 9 carries against the number 1 team number one defense in the nation. And then I'm like, wow, this is going to be a breeze. So,
Marcus, tell me what kind of influence that your mother had with you. Like, talk about that growing up in Philadelphia. You're down in the deep South, but talk about your mom and the influence she had on you.
Well, my mom, my grandparents, my grandfather was a minister. My grandmother ran the nursery for this. There's a big white church here called First Baptist, and my mom was a school teacher. And they were just, always taught me to do the right thing, always, treat people right, respect people, yes sir, no sir. And my friends' parents were like that too. So it was like a neighborhood. If you showed out in somebody else's yard, you're gonna get your butt whooped. And it's not, it's not like that now. So I'm thinking about it now. Nobody that were my friends got in any trouble. None, because we were too scared to get our butts whooped. So we were like straight arrow, wasn't hanging out with the bad crew. There really wasn't any bad guys hanging around us. And it's just, just be the best person you can be. And that's all we knew. And the same way it goes today. I mean, I just try to respect people and yes sir, no sir, no matter if they're younger than me or whatever. I just try to respect people and I try to treat the banker. My mom always say, you treat the banker and the guy on the street the same way. You don't change. And I didn't do that. So.
That's great. Marcus, talk to me about, so now you're getting recruited and you got everybody in the country. You could have went anywhere, any school, didn't matter. Everybody was trying to develop a relationship. And you took a few visits, I think. You went around and looked, but in the end, you decided on Oklahoma. Why Oklahoma?
Well, for one, I like the way Coach Switzer would brag on TV. I always, back then you only had a few channels that carried the football games. We always got Oklahoma. And I just love the way Coach Switzer handled himself for us. If you want to watch out, we'll put a 100 on you before halftime. And I just liked his swagger. And then I got up there and got to hang out with the guys and seeing, what they did. And I just felt at home. And I thought that was a perfect fit for me. And also they ran the wishbone. So we ran the wishbone in high school. So I was like, this is going to be perfect. And they had the wishbone quarterbacks. I mean, oh my God, it was a perfect situation.
When I was the head coach, basketball coach at Alabama, Barry Switzer was on campus. I think he had come to somebody with gymnastics. Might have been a daughter or somebody that he had. But anyway, I met him and asked him to come talk to my team. And he came out there and he had this big old Super Bowl ring. I mean, it couldn't even hold his fingers together, from the Cowboys, this big ring. And he, just like you said, he had kind of a cockiness, but it was a confident. But our players loved him. Our players, my basketball players, absolutely loved him. He spent about 30 minutes and, they all got to talk to him and he gave a little talk to him. But I can see why somebody would be attracted to playing for somebody like that because he did have this big personality, huge, confident.
He still does. He still does at 88 years old.
Well, he's amazing. And talk a little bit about the movie because I've heard, if we're allowed to talk about it, that you guys have a movie in the makings. It's a movie about your life. I think Barry Switzer's involved in it as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, basically, everybody's probably seen the 30 for 30, so it's going to be a little bit different than the 30 for 30. They're going to go from probably like my junior and senior year of high school or sophomore or high school to my senior year. They're not going to go past that. And we, the same people who did Mississippi Burning and did Emmett Till is going to be producing this movie. So it's going to be a history piece, I guess, but it's going to talk about how I grew up in Philadelphia and how we brought, they say I brought the people together. I was just playing football, and we're about to. They're working on the script now. We actually hadn't signed the contract. I'm waiting on my lawyer to call me as we speak, and so. But I got confidence in the guys that I met with the writers. That they're one's from Baton Rouge and another one is from New York, and we have been sitting down talking, and so I think it's going to be a pretty good movie. the way they're going to write it, I really think they said it's going to be better than The Blind Side.
Wow, isn't that great? Good for you. Congratulations on that.
We hadn't finished the script yet, but they said it's going to be better than The Blind Side.
So I got a couple questions. Number one is, who is playing you? Who is it going to be? Denzel? I mean, who is playing you? That's the most important thing.
Wow, we ain't got to that part yet. Everybody asked me that. I'm like, I have no idea. So I don't know.
Funny.
We ain't got to that part yet, but I think we were talking the other day, and so we're going to call it The Burden of Greatness. I kind of like that. The Burden of Greatness.
Talk a little bit more about that. What does that mean to you? Because I like that title, and your story, your life. I'm proud of you with right now where you are in life. But talk about that, because again, guys that were in your shoes, there is. It is kind of a burden sometime of greatness. There's a lot expected of you, and talk about what that means to you. Just that phrase in itself, burden of greatness.
Like I said, me and my friends that I grew up with, Michael Smith, Charles McAfee, Scotty Wilson, we all grew up together, and we saw how other guys who made mistakes, when they had opportunity to advance their life or advance their family's life, and we watched those guys, and we were like, we're not going to do those same mistakes. And so that was the kind of pressure right there, making sure we do the right thing all the time. And, we're still boys, but we just knew we had something to uphold our family. It was just, you had people talking, well, he can't play at Oklahoma. He should be going to Oklahoma. I'm like, I got to go see how good I can be. I don't know how good. At that time, I really didn't know how good I was. And I was just like, I want the challenge. We accepted challenges all through our younger years, and I was ready to accept that challenge to see how good I could be. And I wanted to be. That's why I went to Oklahoma. I wanted to see how good these guys are and measure my talent against those guys, because I really didn't think I was that good. So I was just blessed. I was just thinking I was just blessed to be in the right place at the right time.
Marcus, when you were growing up in Philadelphia and the movie, I can't wait. I hope it all comes together, and I hope it's spectacular, because a lot of people will be impacted in a really positive way. But talk a little bit, too, about growing up in Philadelphia as a young black child, a young black player, and you had, and still in the South a little bit back in those, you're talking about, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, and the whites, the blacks, and here you are, and you're having this amazing success. Talk a little bit about growing up in that environment.
Well, you know what? Like I said, my grandfather was a minister. My uncle had every key to because he had his little janitor business, and he had every key to the bank, every key to the stores. You know what? I had to honestly say, I knew it was kind of some racism going on, but my mom, she just kept me focused, and my grandparents kept me focused. I used to go to work with my granddad. They're going to show that part. I know they're going to show me where I used to be hustling on as an 8th grader, 7th grader, or whatever, mowing the yards. I mowed everybody's yard. I was trying to make my little hustle money. And so it was just, I knew it was there. I had heard them mention it, but she also, I guess enough people respected my family to the point that, that racism didn't allow me to see it. But I knew it was there. But like I said, my crew, we didn't grow with. We were just blessed to grow with a bunch of white and black people who really didn't care. We were kids. Right. We just enjoyed each other and enjoyed playing with each other and enjoyed winning. And so winning changes a lot of things.
Yes, it does. It always does. It always does. Talk about this, Marcus. Talk about for you, because I've had some really good players along the way as well, but you roll into Oklahoma, you show up, and everybody there knows who you are. Everybody on the team knows they know your name. Big reputation coming out of high school. If I can remember right, you probably showed up on campus and you had some big old Jerry curls. You had your big glasses on, I bet you, because I remember pictures of you back then. But talk a little bit about how did your teammates accept you coming in with all of kind of the hype and the attention that you were getting?
Well, for one, they couldn't believe how big I was. And then Spencer Tillman, he was one of the top backs in the country. You know, he's was an ABC now, Fox or whatever. He's an analyst. And, you know, everybody's, you know, you come in as freshmen, you wide-eyed, you know, like, this is Oklahoma. And, you know, everybody's waiting to see what I could do. You know, Coach Switzer walks up. I was with Coach Proctor. I was catching punts. And Coach Proctor like, you call punts in high school? I said, yep. I called kickoffs too. I said, I returned every one that kicked to me. And so, but that's another story. And so Coach Switzer walks up, looks like we don't recruit a big tight end. So I looked at Coach, I was like, I didn't come here to play tight end. So, but like I said, at first scrimmage, I mean, I was the probably 8th or 9th running back because, you know, we ran the wishbone. So it was like 8 or 9 guys in front of me. So I'm like, I got to show out today. So, like I said, I carried the ball 9 times, 150 yards, and I like, oh, this gonna be a breeze. But the guys all accepted, especially after that first day. They was like, shoot, this dude here is real. I said, man, you're like, where you from? I said, Hard Time, Mississippi.
Talk about this one too, Marcus. I went to a football game in Oklahoma, and I was on the field years ago. I traveled with Alabama's football team, actually. But for you, first game, freshman year, first time you're going to come out of that tunnel. And I've seen that tunnel. I've actually stood right there. And you got, 100,000 or whatever it is, 90, 100,000 people there. What was that feeling like for you?
Man, if I try to express that, I probably won't do it justice. I just know when we came out the tunnel, I mean, you know, Oklahoma fans are just like Alabama fans. They're die hard. And I looked up around and like, oh my God, there's more people in this stadium than it is in my hometown. But I just remember when we played in high school, the bigger the crowd, the bigger the more I wanted to play. And so it was like, I can't wait to put my hand on the ball. It was just exciting. It was just, I don't know. It's hard to express, but I was looking forward to that day to be able to run down that tunnel and hold up number one and hear the band cheering and hear the crowd cheering. And like I said, if I tried to express it, I wouldn't do it justice, but it was the best thing ever.
Was it hard for you, Marcus, like as a freshman, you know, some of the upperclassmen sometimes, not that they're jealous, but, you know, they've been there, they paid their dues a little bit, and here comes this younger guy in here. He's got a lot of hype around him. He's obviously really good, but, you know, he is younger than us. How were the older players? How did they receive you as you came into Oklahoma?
Well, I think everybody, as far as I could tell, everybody was except, Stanley Wilson at that time was their leading rusher all time, and they were pushing him for the Heisman Trophy. And I was calling home back to my mom like, man, Stanley ain't no Heisman Trophy, no runner. I said, I need the ball. And he's like, but if I ever get a chance to get in the game, because they redshirted everybody except me. So I used to call my friends back at Ole Miss. I was like, man, y'all better watch it, because they usually would play at night. I said, man, if I get in this game today, I said, I'm going to show y'all what Philadelphia is all about. And so that's what they tell. We talk about it now, and they're like, man, all the Ole Miss players would come in. They seen Herschel play. And so my friends be like, well, man, I played with Marcus. I seen Herschel play. I think Marcus is I might be biased or whatever he said, but I know what Marcus can do when he puts the hand on the ball, and he got the shake, he got the explosion. And after that game, I think we played Kansas. That's what it was, Kansas on ESPN at 11 o'clock. And Michael and Tree was like, man, Marcus, our whole room was packed. And he said, the first time you got the ball, you went 75 yards. And everybody said, man, this dude, he played with y'all. He's like, so, but it was just a great feeling. like I said, if I try to explain it, it's just hard to explain if you just wasn't there. And that's what a lot of people say. If you wasn't there to see him play in high school, you just missed it.
How was Barry Switzer to play for?
He was a great guy. That's the thing I didn't understand, the reason I left Oklahoma, because I come there to play for him. And he was just every day, he would be ragging me about something. I'm like, man, what is up with this guy? All he got to do is tell me if I'm messing up, because I ain't the type of guy that want to mess up. If I'm going to mess up, I'll admit it, man, I messed up. But I wasn't doing nothing. I'm like, why is he ragging me so hard? I used to ask Coach Selman, what is wrong? He said, I don't know. Then Galen Hall used to go, Galen Hall was the offensive coordinator. And I said, Coach, why is he ragging? He's like, man, don't worry about it, because I'm going to keep giving you the ball, big boy. So it was just odd to me. And he just they wasn't used to a running back my size, I guess, because one day in practice, so they recruited a guy named James Lee. You probably can find him. He's like one of the junior Olympic sprinters out of Texas. He would always win the Texas relays. So he was a 200-meter runner. So Coach Switzer stops practice one day, and he puts everybody in the stands and calls me out and calls James Lee out, and put 4 or 5 coaches at the goal line. We ran the 40. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to run against James Lee. So I'm like, maybe I can beat him, maybe I can't, but we finna find out. So the first, we line up, we go. So I beat him by probably 1 step the first time. So they show Coach Switzer the watch. I still don't know what I ran. And he's like, oh no, hell, I Coach Switzer, hell no, y'all playing with me. He didn't run that. He said, yes, we did, Coach. Run it again. Y'all go back and line up again. So second time in my mind, I said, oh, I got to jump out on him this time. I know how he runs. I'm going to jump out on him. Boom, boom, it's going to be over. And so, the further I go down the field, the stronger I got. And so I jumped out. Boom. I beat him by 3 steps that time. They showed Coach the watch again. He's like, hell no, he didn't run that. He said, yes, he did, Coach. He said, no, y'all messing with me with the watches. No, he didn't run that. Because it didn't look like I was running. I was covering ground because of my long stride. So he said, one more time. We got to run it one more time. I said, man, what is wrong with this dude? So the third time we do it, and I just blew his doors off. And he was like, man, dude, you can run. I'm like, bro, I just naturally God-given talent. I didn't know how to run track. The only person that beat me in track was Calvin Smith. And he one time, he went to Alabama. He was at one time the fastest human. I was a 9th grader. And he ran a 9.300 and I ran a 9.5. And I had no clue about running track. I was just out there running. And so we ran the last time and they showed Coach Switzer watch again. He's like, nah, y'all take it. He finally just took everybody practice over, take it in. So that's one good story that I do remember.
Talk about, Marcus, when you left. You made the decision. It had to be hard for you. You made a decision, and you left, and you went over to Southern Mississippi. Just talk about that and maybe what was going through your mind at that point, because I think a lot of people in America, even me, we're similar age. I was surprised, because I had followed you and watched you play, and so what went into that decision? It
was just I got a concussion in the Texas game. I got a bad concussion. And I flew home to Mississippi. When I got home, I had to sit in my room for, 4 or 5 hours because I just couldn't, the light would hurt my head, hurt whatever. I just felt nauseated, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, man, I can't go back. I can't play this week. Ain't no way I can play this week. I know they're going to try to make me play. And so I called my friend Alvin when I went, my uncle dropped me off at the airport. And so I walked down the tunnel like, ain't no way I can play this week. Ain't no way. I know they're going to want me to play. And so just something in my mind said, turn around and go back. You ain't got to play. And I'm glad I had the mindset to know that I couldn't play because my head was still hurting that Monday when I was getting on the plane. I'm like, forget this. If I'm going to take this much beating, I'm going to go play somewhere else or go play in whatever. I need to be playing for money. And so luckily the USFL came calling. But my mom was worried because she's like, okay, Marcus, what are you going to do? I said, well, first of all, I'm going to get in school at Southern because I know they want me. And then when I got down there, they were saying, oh, Marcus, you got to sit out 2 years. I'm like, ain't no way I can sit out 2 years. Nuh-uh, no. And so luckily, God was good, and the USFL called and said, Marcus, you can play for us. You know, we don't have any rules where nobody can go make a living. So that's why I signed.
How hard was it, Marcus, just kind of the injuries that you had, USFL and then with the Rams, and it happens, part of sports, just part of the game. Guys get hurt, and you dealt with some of those that probably kept you from, really having a long career. But just talk about how you dealt with that and the injuries that you had.
Well, I tore my knee up, but at that time, I was like, I don't want to play ball no more. I don't want to do this again. And because that was a painful injury, and my hamstring tore, the lateral ligament, and anterior cruciate tore. It was like the doctor said you'd never play again. So I was like, well, I don't care. I don't want to go through this crap again. No way. So this one day, I just, it was bad. But then, I sit out 5 years, and so I just woke up one day. Marcus, don't you get old and regret not trying to go to the NFL. And the Rams still drafted me. And so Dick Corey was the head coach for the Breakers in New Orleans. So he was the quarterback coach with the Rams. And so I got in touch with Coach Corey. I said, Coach, because we always stayed in contact. I said, Coach, I got a feeling I can still play this game. He said, well, Marcus, you better than most guys are on 2 legs. You better on 1. So let's try it. He said, I said, yeah, what I got to lose? So I started working out on May 1st. By July 31st, I had lost like 100 pounds. And I called Coach up and I said, Coach, I'm ready. He said, what? You ready? I said, I'm ready. All right, we'll fly you out. And when I worked out for John Robinson and he liked me, he's like, Marcus, is going to take you about 2 years to get back right where you were when you left college. He said, I see it. And I bust my butt the whole time I was with the Rams, and it did. It took me 2 years. I had 100 yards against the Raiders in one half. But Coach Chuck Knox was there. So they'd already signed Cleveland Gary to this big contract. And I really don't think they thought I was going to make the team because nobody didn't think I was going to get cut. And so I'm like, man, Chuck Knox don't like me or whatever, because he had already said in the paper that he wasn't with the Marcus Dupree comeback. So I said, okay. So that's how it ended up.
Talk about this one too, Marcus, because I'm curious. So when they decided, you got approached, I'm sure, and they want to do a 30 for 30 on you and your career, your life, and the fascinating story. How did you feel about, kind of telling your story that first time in that 30 for 30? Were you comfortable with it? Were you excited about it? Like, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was kind of excited because John Hawk said the guy who produced it said he wanted to do a story on me. He was a big fan of mine. He had followed my career. Mm-hmm. He said before the 30 for 30 came out, he wanted to do a story on me 10 years before that because he always wondered what happened. So I was kind of excited about it because I got to tell my story, because a lot of people in Oklahoma thought I just left. I was home, thought I was homeless. No, I wasn't homesick. Now, a freshman, I was homesick, but after that, I was good. And so they got a chance to tell my story, and now everybody knows. And Coach Switzer had an opportunity to make it right, and said that was his biggest mistake ever in his coaching career, that he didn't coach me right. So they got a chance to tell. Yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. If you look back, Marcus, and say, let's say if you go back to when you were 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and all that's happening and lessons that you've learned that you said, you know what, if I could apply some of these lessons, would there be any for you that as you've gotten older, because as we all get older, we look back, we learn, and, what lessons have you learned from all that you've gone through?
Well, it's no more than, not per se lessons. It's something I went to Oklahoma to win a national championship. I didn't go to Oklahoma to win the Heisman. That was never on my mind. I went there to see how good I could really be. And I hate that I didn't win that national championship because we could have won it. Me and Keith Jackson talk about it all the time. We could have won it back to back. And that's what I went to Oklahoma for, and that's the biggest regret.
Well, as you have gotten older, we've all gotten older. I'm older, and what motivate? Well, I'd like to think I'm not, but sometimes when I get out of bed, things hurt. I walk around, it's like, damn, something hurts. But what motivates you now? Like, what gets you excited now about where you are in life and all that you've gone through over the years?
Well, I got a bunch of grandkids, about 12, I think. I see my grandsons playing. My oldest grandson plays at Jackson State right now, so I get to give them the wisdom that I learned and opportunity to talk to other kids. There's a lot of kids have come out of Philadelphia and went to the pros. We have my cousin just went in the draft this year. He went to the Rams. Actually, went to the Rams. Jaquez Hunter played at Auburn. So I get to give them advice and just see them progress and make sure they make no mistakes. I mean, sometimes we can't prevent that, but just being able to give my grandson words of wisdom and see him grow and because he's on my 30 for 30. And he's the little kid that say, "Papa, are you going to sign me up?" And so everybody be like shocked that's that kid that was on the 30. I said, "Yeah, we got him signed up." So just that part of it, and now just doing business and meeting good people like your dad, what I was impressed with, and your uncle Mike, and it was just meeting good people, being around Wayne and some of his friends down there, and I got a chance to meet Coach Ben, who I helped get in the Hall of Fame, High School Hall of Fame this year. He's going in, being inducted this year, and just growing and just meeting good people and that like to sit around and talk about old times and how things used to be, and that's what makes me happy now. That's what motivates me.
So I heard a story. Actually, yesterday I had Kalen DeBoer, Alabama's head coach, on my show yesterday. He was great. But I'm going to tell on you, they told a story. You were in Mobile, Alabama at the big banquet down there for Team Focus, my Uncle Mike's program. Yeah. And Kalen DeBoer said, "Marcus," he said, "I think you got a couple years eligibility left." He said, "Why don't you see if you can come make a comeback and play for us?" Was that true? Did he say that?
That is true. That was true. He was talking about when Alabama went up to Oklahoma this past season. And I was like, "Ooh, y'all ran into a buzzsaw, didn't you?" He looked up and said, "Yeah, that's what he did." But yeah, it was a great time. I didn't know what I was coming to, Mark. I didn't. So Wayne, I met your dad at a where were we at? One of those restaurants. I can't think of the oyster place. And so he was sitting. Yes, that's it. And so I met him there, and then I didn't know him and Wayne knew each other. And I was talking to Wayne. He's like, "Man, you need to come to Team Focus." I'm like, so they never explained to me what is Team Focus. So I'm like, "Man, I promise I'm gonna come. And so I get down there, and so I come up the elevators and saw Wayne. We hugged each other. And then I met your dad. And so about 10 minutes later, he said, "I need you to come on stage." I'm like, "For what?" He said, "No, just come up stage. Come up and sit on stage with me." So I'm like, and still don't know what I'm supposed to do. He said, "We're going to hand you this plaque, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to have your name on it." I'm like, still, what is this about? Because Coach Cottrell was sitting on my right side, and who else was there? Then there's a bunch of guys there, but I knew Coach Cottrell, or however you say his name. And I'm still sitting there. I'm like, so I called Wayne. I'm like, "Wayne, what I'm supposed to say?" He said, "Let's go with it." So I said, "Well, bring Joe's jersey up that I brought to him, and I'll present it, and I'm going to sing happy birthday. Get the crowd to sing happy birthday to him." I said, "That'll kill 2 or 3 minutes." So I'm trying to figure out ways, because I didn't know. Then your dad go, "Did you grow up not without a dad?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Pretty much, kind of, sort of." He said, "Well, let's talk about that." Or I said, "Well, I mentor kids that don't have dads all the time." And so I told a story about a kid that's grew up with my sons, and his dad was on drugs, but this kid is like one of the top guys at Secret Service. And so I talked about that, and so it ended up being a good deal. And I think I'm going to Ohio for a golf tournament for Team Focus now, so I know what it is, what I'm doing. So, but yeah, I was like, oh, what I say, what I do? And so I just went with it.
Well, it's a great program, and Team Focus, for those that don't know it, it focuses for young men that grew up without a father, which my dad and my uncle, and they had a brother that passed, but they grew up without a father. Their dad died when they were very young. So I know they're so thankful, man, that you were there, and it meant a lot to them, and it was a huge impact. So how about this one, Marcus? Everything has changed now. Now you've got NIL. You've got name, image, and likeness. And if you go back and think about it, I do this all the time, and I coach players that were really good. I mean, I coached the ACC Player of the Year. I've had the SEC Player of the Year and amazing things, but those guys could never make any money. Now, can you imagine Marcus Dupree going to college with NIL? How about that? Would that have changed things just a little bit?
Oh, it would have definitely changed things a whole lot. Matter of fact, I tell people all the time that my mom, when she came to the OSU game, and they had all the T-shirts on, said Ron Marcus Ron. I mean, the stadium had them everywhere. They had the foam fingers everywhere. So I come out of the locker room after the game. She goes, hold up. I said, Marcus, are they paying you for those T-shirts I saw in the stands? Are they paying you for those doggone foam fingers in the stands? I said, they're not even. She's like, they're not even paying your phone bill. I said, no, ma'am, they're not paying me for that. And she goes, go to your dorm room. I'm finna go up and talk to Switzer right now. So I started getting a little 2,000 up out of my bed mattress when I come in from practice, and so I said, "Oh, life is good." So I look at. Don't get me wrong. I understand the premise of what's going on, but I think it's gonna get out of hand. I thought when it first came out, NIL. Okay, you got a good player on your team. He's supposed to get a royalty for selling his jersey because that's his name, image, and likeness. And then the other stuff, I'm like, I think they should pay the kids $3,000 a month, straight across the board. Nobody gets no more, no less. Because how much you gonna spend? You got everything's paid for, so why do you need $600,000? Why do you need $700,000? That's why you won't have kids jumping ship. Now, so they need to go back and revise that. I don't know if they can, but I think they should. Because this is kids ain't got nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I'm glad people can make money, but they got to get some rules in place. So,
you got to get some rules in place.
You would have been a guy though, Marcus. You would have racked up. There's no question. You'd have made more than probably all of them. But anyway, well, I just want to tell you.
I was telling a reporter the other day that was like, Marcus, what was the biggest offer you got coming out of college? I said, well, first SMU. I got out of practice one night, and my mom said, you need to go to the airport. And I said, for what? He said, Ron Myers is flying in from SMU. I said, okay. So I grabbed my cousin. We go over there, and he gets off. He don't even get off the plane, really. And he puts $5,000 in my hand. And it was around Christmas, almost Christmas, too. I was like, man, this is going to be a great Christmas. So I hit my cousin $1,000. And he's like, man, this is great. So then I go to Southern Miss on a recruiting trip. And then this guy, he owns a big construction company there in Hattiesburg, and his name was Wiley Fairchild. And so we go to his house, and me and my mom sit down with him. And my mom's strict. She wasn't playing about not going to school and all that. So he goes, we want to pay you to come to Southern Miss, which it was illegal, but $250,000 a year. And my mom looked at me, and she already knew the NCAA were already watching her bank account and all that. So she looked at me and she grabbed me up, let's go, because you're not going to get caught up in this mess. So I turned down $250,000 a year to play at Southern Miss. So she's like, we're not having it. You're going to go to school and you're not going to have any problems. You'll make your own money. So that's what happened.
Well, good for your mom. Nowadays, it's all legal. But back then, it was a whole different ball game. but good for your mom. Well, Marcus, thank you, man, so much for spending some time. I've enjoyed getting to know you, but I love your story. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of, where you are in your life right now. You're happy, and you feel it looks like you got a lot of great things going in your favor. So thank you so much for being.
I'm thanking God for the blessing, and like I said, God said He's gonna be with us, but He didn't say, how the road is gonna be. It's gonna be rocky. It's been rocky and curvy. So I'm thankful to be living, and still, I've been through cancer. I've had back surgery, knee surgery. I had heart surgery not too long ago. I had AFib, so I know it ain't been no bed of roses, but I'm thankful to be here. And it was great to meet your dad. It was great to meet your dad. So we're friends now. He texts me and I text him back, and he said, "Man, my best player was Jim Brown." He said, "Nah," because he went and watched the 30 for 30. He said, "Oh no, you got Jim Brown." He said, "Now you know my number one guy." I said, "Thank you, Joe."
Isn't that great? Well, again, Marcus, thank you so much, and I'm rooting for you, brother. I am rooting for you.
So
thank you.
Thank you.